panel discussion, which is on basically on reinvent what you do and not who you are. And we have August panelist to be with us, who is Dr. Manoj Verman, Vice President, International Society for Rock Mechanics, Mr. Parthaa Bosu, India Director and South Asia Liaison Officer for Clean Air Asia, India Office, Mr. Rajiv Budhraja, Director General of Automotive Tire Manufacturer Association, Mr. Vikas, Gadre, Director General, Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. J. Jalal, Honorary Secretary, State Secretary for IMA, Indian Medical Association, and member of TN, Tamil Nadu Medical Council. So I'm looking forward for an interesting panel discussion, which will address a lot of important and interesting subjects. He is Vice President of the International Society of Rock Mechanics, President of Indian Society of Rock Mechanics Commission on Hard Rock Excavation, Vice President of Indian Society for Engineering Geology, Governing Council, Tunneling Association of India, Governing Council of ISRM. With over 12 years of experience in research and over 18 years in industry, strong continuing linkage with academia and a flair for disseminating knowledge, he is in a unique position to lead a top engineering institute like BIT as its administrative and academic head. Dr. Manoj Verman, please. Our second panelist, none other than Mr. Parthaa Bosu, India Director and South Asia Liaison Officer for Clean Air Asia, India Office. Parthaa has more than 12 years of combined experience in corporate affairs, corporate communication. Moving from transport company, Parthaa joined the Society for Indian Automobile Manufacturers, what we call SIAM, in 2000 to look into in-use vehicle emission before moving on to special projects. Before leaving SIAM, he was heading the corporate communication. In 2009, after a brief stint with the organizing committee of Commonwealth Games Delhi, he joined Clean Air Asia. He is heading the India office since December 2010. Parthaa opened his scorebook in CAA by coming up with the first workability survey app in the world, which we would like to see today, and he's going to share with us. He's a part of working group for non-motorized transport promotion in Ministry of Urban Development in India. Under his leadership, CAA has developed a more people participating approach to workability. Thank you, Parthaa, for being here. May I also call upon Mr. Rajiv Budhraja, Director General for Automotive Tire Manufacturers Association. Mr. Budhraja has been a strong supporter of Indian Association Congress and been our supporter. He's the Director General of Automotive Tire Manufacturers Association, the Apex Industry Association representing the Indian tire industry, headquartered in New Delhi, is among the most active and well-known national industry bodies in the country. Mr. Budhraja has nearly 30 years of experience in service organization, having worked in PhD Chamber of Commerce, Confederation of Exports Units, Indian Paper Manufacturer Association, prior to joining ATMA in 1997. Mr. Budhraja is a member of the Rubber Board of India for the second successive term, representing the tire sector on the board. He also represents ATMA on several government and institutional bodies. We also have with us our last panelist, Mr. Vikas Gadre, Director General, Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mr. Gadre. Mr. Gadre worked with Tata Chemicals Limited as Vice President, New Business Initiative. At the moment, he has been chosen the top 50 global CIOs for innovative thinking by Information Week US, managed international projects in Africa, Mozambique, and also cross-border acquisition thereon. Is joined Bombay Chamber of Commerce in 2012 after superannuity from Tata Chemical. Mr. Gadre, thank you for being here. The floor is now open to Mr. Madhavan to interact with our panelists. Let me also give a little background of what we are trying to achieve through this particular session. Association, as I mentioned during the first session also, is the time has come to reinvent the association. Is to no more a place can be only managed by a volunteer. It need to have this leadership. It need to be run like a corporation or organization. And to that aspect, there are different tools that are available, and we're going to be interacting with the members of different associations to understand what they are doing. And to start with, I thought Dr. Nair would be the right person to have some opening remark on this, as he has also handled several associations and has been a strong supporter of this building community. Dr. Nair, floor is with you.
Thank you, Prashant. It's really an honor and privilege to be here this afternoon, and also to participate in this very important panel discussion. But I must admit that I'm a totally stranger to this field when you're talking about the commerce, production, export, import, and so on. My association has been mostly with the technical organizations, and that too initially in the country. I have looked at the Indian National Science Congress, which is one of the mega events, bringing close to a few thousand scientists every year, and then coordinating their activities right over the country at various chapters. Then we had the Astronautical Society, Aeronautical Society, and so on. And perhaps that's a different ball game. First of all, the organization structured in such a way that a number of parent government-sponsored laboratories and departments, they are behind it. So the human resource as well as some of the financial aspects are covered by that. In addition, we may get some support from some of the industries working with us and so on. But that was not a big problem, but to organize events and then manage the affairs. But when I had the opportunity to head this International Academy of Astronautics, really I started feeling the pinch. Primarily, you know, in the Western world, nothing comes free. For anything and everything you have to pay. So, again, like this, what we're talking about Indian associations, it is a non-profit organization, and we are not supposed to make any revenue, and so on. So the fundraising became a real problem, and one thing was we had a long list of academicians who are members of this thing, and we tried to slightly increase the annual fee and then try to manage slightly, at least the office expenses out of the membership fee which is coming out of that. Then of course the sponsorship by major industries who are working in aerospace and so on. But still it's a problem to work with that and to get a sufficient number of volunteers. But I can say that yes, to a great extent the academic and research activities can be managed. There will be a lot of people who are enthused to take up because of the challenge associated with the research component in that itself. But I must admit that in the commercial field, how it is going to be is quite different. So perhaps the panelists should expose what is the current level of activities and where we stand, and maybe a sort of a revisit of what last 10 years, what you have been doing and how you have been doing. Then comes, of course, what is your immediate priorities and what you want to do. And then, of course, the next is anything and everything has to be based on a vision, which is stretching over 5 years or 10-year period. And then what you do today should jive into the overall vision which the association may have. Of course, today, the modern means of communications and the social media, etc., has become very powerful. I can say that previously in our academy, we used to have at least 3 sessions at various parts of the world, and a lot of money has been spent in travel and so on. Today, all those have been replaced with the teleconference through Skype and social media and so on, and they become very efficient. The electronic media is very powerful and exchange of ideas. And here again, the IAC has set a very good example. Practically no paper has been printed, and almost all the communication and arrangements have been done through the electronic media, and definitely that saves time and is much more efficient. So perhaps you had to address to how this can be put to use. Then of course, what is your real challenges, what you are facing, and what are your suggestions for improvement? So if you, each of the panelists, if you can focus on this while you are addressing, then we can leave the session open for common discussion and raising questions from the audience and so on. So I would start with sorry. Do you want to go in a particular order, or? Okay. I will request Mr. Parthaa Bosu to start that.
Sorry, technical glitches. Thank you, Mr. Nair. Thank you, Prasant. It's really a great pleasure to be here. And I met Hello? Yep. Sorry, is it better? Okay. No, I was saying that I met some of the participants today, and I was really thinking that it's really a very diverse and a very elite and very educated group, very aware, and it might not be very difficult for me to talk because I come from a domain, well, everybody comes from a domain, and I was very worried that if my domain will make a lot of sense. Clean Air Asia is basically a non-profit organization which basically is a premier non-government organization as well. It's one of the leading NGOs working on climate change and air quality in Asia. We run a partnership of approximately 250-300 members, which is one of the largest membership of experts who are working on air pollution and climate change, probably one of the largest in the world. And you know, most of our members are free. So, and it's really a very difficult challenge to keep your members satisfied, especially when it is free, because you know there is no give and take. So they're free. Most of them are free, and they're on board, and they expect a lot of information and engagement. So how do you keep your members engaged? So that was one of the issues which we are facing in between. Once we felt that the membership is not growing that fast as it was previously. And one of the ways how we kept our members engaged was initially the group emails, and you start discussing and stuff like that, and you take it forward. But what we realized is that as the time changes and your members' requirements changes, you need to engage them at different level time and again at different platforms. Nowadays, with the presence of social media, it probably makes a lot of sense to engage them even in social media groups like Facebook groups, etc. And you need to see where your client and where your memberships are there, how you present them. Because members always look forward to you for two things. One is definitely the strength, and another is definitely the information. So strength is probably what you already have and what you would like to when you lobby in front of the government. But when it comes to the knowledge and its dissemination, I think it becomes very important that we engage them with the latest technologies and latest platforms. And one of the things which I thought I will share, should I, over a case study? Okay. So, and because we have a case study, so I thought that it will be very interesting, which we can share with you, how we have tried to engage our partners and a larger audience over a period of time, in which we face that social media came out very handy. But yes, the challenges still remain, that how we engage more partnership and how we increase some revenue, because non-profit organizations which are not supposed to make any revenues, one of the difficulties is that when you don't have revenue, you also can't spend, and you also can't do more activities. More revenue also gives you a leverage of doing more activities, conducting studies and research, and maybe a lot of study tours, etc. So I think there has to be innovative ways of engaging people. Right.
Thank you, Parthaa.
Yeah.
In fact, Dr. Nair, I was thinking of asking Dr. Verman about when of course you have been running the association very successfully and has been in different phases of the association and seen its growing. During your tenure, is there anything that you could specifically tell or share with us that you have reinvented or kind of invented, whereby association has gained momentum, be it from an engagement point of view?
During this tenure, there were many definite initiatives taken up, and one of the ones that I have been tasked with is linkages with the industry. I'll tell you the background. As Dr. Nair said, that with the scientific associations, there's a lot of association with the academic world, really. And therefore, the industry, although that information can be used by the industry, but industry somehow distances itself from the hardcore academics, and research people. That's what the society was, or the association was, from where I come from. I first became a member in 1980s, and since I also had a research background, so I was very interested in that. But then, very quickly, the society realized that they're sitting on a repository of information. The knowledge is really the hallmark. And they were very illustrious members of the organization spread around the world, the big names in the field. And so they were roped in to identify the gaps in the knowledge or the state of the art, and then plug those gaps by way of suggested methods, technical reports, and to go beyond what the national standard organizations prescribe. For example, in India, what Bureau of Indian Standards has standards for procedures, for techniques, for tests, etc. Our association went beyond that and raised the level a notch and produced those. Now, those are a big hit, really. So industry uses them as a Bible, really. So there was a straight benefit to the industry. And also it attracted more members, not just the institutional members, but the individual members. But then it remained as a society which had its root and was very well established in the academic world around the world, really. And so recently we decided in the board meeting that we need to bring in more industry participation in this, because that's where the money also lies. From the membership, as Dr. Nair said, just from membership, it's getting impossible to run the associations. And the membership fees are paltry, really. So linkage with industry in terms of, and India is playing a very important role there, because in this field, as I said, rock mechanics is to do with rock engineering. And when you think of rock engineering, it is the project like tunneling, in which you are making a hole through the mountains, or you're making huge dams on top of rock structures, or you're cutting slopes to make roads and railways. There are a large number of projects going on in India at the moment, and in which industry is directly involved, and they face problems day in and day out. One of the biggest challenges that the industry faces these days, infrastructure industries, that with the tightening money and the bids going lower and lower, and all the projects sitting with the government where there's kind of a delay in taking decisions, they need to reinvent their technologies and the methods. It's all hilly area or mountainous area. A lot of projects which are being constructed, they're already constructed or in the pipeline got affected. It created such a negative sentiment, for example, in the hydropower industry, because a lot of people are up in arms against the hydropower industry, rightly or wrongly, not the forum to decide. But then we felt we had a moral responsibility to hold industry's hand and tell them how you can come out of this crisis, because the lenders have lost confidence, and so technology has to come forward and tell them that it can be done. And so that's where we are helping them really. And this is how the association is progressing really. Coming to the use of social media, do I ask that question as well? Yeah, because I took a clue from Mr. Parthaa. We've tried to push it, but in the board meetings it's been vetoed out, that not social media is not. But then what was done here, we noticed that the young people are not joining the association from our society. So a group was created which is called President's Young Member Association, and that was that took off on a social media really. It's a big hit. And what is done, for example, the last time the International Young Member Group met in Sydney during an event, and a cruise was arranged, and the right kind of music and right kind of atmosphere. But a doyen from the industry went there to address the students or the young people and having a beer with them and talking hardcore technical thing, but in an atmosphere that they understand best. And that's the hit. So we've suddenly had a surge of young members joining the association. So things of that sort, sort of go out to them, and that's what we've been following.
Thank you. My next comment that I'm looking at from Mr. Gadre. So you have been running one of the largest chamber of commerce from Mumbai, and seen the corporate side of it, now the non-for-profit side of it. It is often said about big chamber of commerce is the big boys club. We don't say it in open. So how do you reinvent yourself in terms of servicing those members, those who are on the lower part of the thing, or smaller, or SMEs, those who do not have the voice or the turnover to make their voice heard? So what is this your Chamber of Commerce is doing?
Fine. Thanks a lot. Let me take a minute in terms of just giving the background for Bombay Chamber. We consider ourselves as the oldest Chamber of Commerce. If I am wrong, please correct me. We are 178-year-old. We started in 1836 and have been working continuously. Madras Chamber was 1 week junior to us. We have 4,500 members, and a large number of them, almost 3,000, are from medium, small and micro industries. As you very rightly said, I did come from corporate world. After spending 35 years in the corporate world in Tata side, last year I joined this organization. And there are two things that we have tried to do in order to reinvent ourselves, as we say. And basically going by what Charles Darwin said once upon a time, is that it is not the strongest or it is not the most intelligent species which survives. It is the most adaptable that survives. And if the environment is changing because the expectations of our stakeholders, be it members, be it government, or be it foreign nationals, is changing, we need to adapt ourselves. And that's what we have tried to do. We have done it in two parts. One, in terms of what the chamber does for the outside world and what we have tried to do within the chamber. For the outside world, number one, the chamber has tried to do is that we are not just a body for doing, within quotes, lobbying with the government for industry, but we have reinvented ourselves 3 years back when Mr. Nitin Paranspe, the current the CEO of HUL, he was the president, that corporate as a citizen as a theme was taken. And apart from working for industry, large and small both, we also work for the society. We have adopted educational institution for skills development. We are working with Mumbai Municipal Corporation to set up an art and craft center, a very large one. We work with judiciary in Bombay High Court to develop, train mediators because there is an alternate dispute resolution that is required. We also work with the youth in Bombay for a Young Bombay Forum. So on these areas, outside of industry, we work in these areas in order to reinvent ourselves. To your specific question, in terms of what we do for the MSME sector. Last year, after I joined the organization, one of the things that we have consciously done is that now we have an annual strategy session for the chamber itself. We actually have an offsite for the managing committee and some of the people in terms of what should be the chamber strategy for next 3 years to 5 years, what should be the vision mission statement, and what should be the action plans and such things, so that they get really cascaded down to all the expert committees and also to the members. And then there is a continuity in terms of what the chamber will stand for and will not change from year to year. One of the things which came out was working for the MSME. Now, for the medium, micro, small and medium enterprises, that is the main focus for the last 2 years that we have had. We specifically have programs because we realize that the big boys club, whether it is Tata's, Birla's, Reliance or Mahindra and Mahindra, etc., they don't need the chamber actually, because they can, I mean, even if their corporate departments in Delhi can do the work for them, they don't need the chamber. It is the MSME which requires. And these MSMEs we are now engaging with them in terms of a lot of mentoring, coaching programs. It is not just knowledge sharing, but actually problem solving sessions. This is one area that we do. Number 2 is that we conduct regular surveys for MSME to understand what are their expectations to engage with government bodies, and collectively their problems are aggregated and the chamber puts it up forward for the government bodies. And the third thing that we try and do is also to train some of these people on the HR practices which otherwise may not be available to them. So these are some of the 3 things that we do. We can take it up as the discussion goes on further.
Thank you, Mr. Gadre. I'm sure, and I'm saying it, you are already championing in this area to running this, as we mentioned in the last session, running like a corporation, not like a non-for-profit. And that's the way to go forward. Let me also take some views from Mr. Budhraja, again from a trade association perspective. Your members are looking at tangible returns, business leads, apart from the training program. So you, of course, cannot shy away to answer their question. But what are you doing differently? That's what we want you to share with others, that this is what I'm specifically doing different, and where is bringing tangible result to the members.
Well, thank you, Prashant, for giving me the opportunity, and it's an honor to be sharing this panel with Dr. Nair and other panelists. Tire happens to be a very traditional product, as you know. And so as an industry body, as an industry association, I represent the old school of thought, you know. And in such a scenario, it's somewhat difficult to get rid of the baggage of the past, if I may say, and try and reinvent yourself. And while doing so, I think an important question arises is that when you're saying you reinvent yourself, are you just trying to put old wine in new bottle, you know, in terms of polishing up your logos and websites or stationery, or, you know, just using the new electronic medium? Or are you trying to be ahead of the expectation curve of your members? And I think it's the second part which we found very challenging, because what has happened is over the last 10, 20 years, 15 years, last few recent years, if I may say, the Indian industry has actually, you know, gone out and is trying to see the entire world as their platform. And in doing so, I think it's the associations which face a bigger challenge, that who do you benchmark yourself against? Are you benchmarking yourself against your peer group and, you know, your contemporaries within the country or outside the country? And in doing so, I think that's one message that we took. For instance, one of our member companies, a leading tire manufacturer, and I wouldn't hesitate putting the name, it's Apollo Tires, which has now gone international. It has acquired companies in US, about a dozen plants all over the world. And suddenly we realized that, you know, we are kind of open against the tire associations from Europe, from Japan, from US, and trying to compare ourselves as to what they are doing versus what we are doing. And that's when we realized that our traditional role of being a facilitator between industry and government is only a very, very small part of, the much bigger canvas which the whole world looks at, So these are the kind of challenges that we saw, and some of the opportunities also that came along the way. For instance, we realized that we are spending too much time, addressing to our members and vice versa, and not really engaging with the entire value chain of the stakeholders. And that's another kind of change that we brought about in recent years, that, well, tire starts from, the moment the latex drops as rubber, and the end result where it gets fitted into the vehicle and the after effects. So right from the value chain of the rubber grower right down to the disposal of tire, what happens, to the end of life tire cycle. I think that's the bigger canvas that emerged for the for ATMA as an association. And there are, several unique opportunities in that. There are several collaborative, if I may say, approaches that can be taken with the stakeholders. And going forward, I think we have a very big agenda at our hand than what we had thought of.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Mr. Budhraja. Dr. Nair, I'm going to ask you, with all due respect, I want to check this panel, so I thought I'll ask you. While companies run very, very successfully, like you talked about Apollo going all over the world, and when we benchmark them, they're the same leaders running an association, and maybe several of Apollo's, another tire manufacturer, they're member of it, or any other association. When it comes to the association, same associations are not run well due to whatever reason, maybe fund, volunteer, or is it too many cook spoil the broth? So what do you think?
Well, I think it's a very difficult question. In any organizations, the individuals do matter. It's a leader, the president or the chairman of the committee who is there, who has to really carry those members with them. That is where, there has to be total transparency, and you have to provide an opportunity for all the members to contribute with the best of their ability. Once we do that, a lot of synergy will come in out of that. So perhaps that is the first thing we want us to worry about in organizations like this. Second, I think we have been, from whatever I hear, most of the association has been doing this so-called facilitators role between the government and the industry. Now, that has to be tapered off. Government has to come to you. You have to create a situation like that. And with your performance and your competence, and you should show how the particular sector can be run well. And that ideas has to come from such associations. There may be practical difficulties in the floor, on the floor, or with individual operations, or dealing with the tax department, and so on. So for that, innovative solutions has to come, and it has to be on a transparent mode. And I will say that present mode of influencing by all kinds of means, I would say even corruption, that has to be wiped out. That should become one of your targets. But carrying the members and making them work for the organization is the most important part.
So you are actually saying that association must create that pull factor for government to come to them, not really pushing this thing. So this will certainly give us a complete different perspective altogether for us to ponder. Earlji, you have been also part of this international rock mechanics for a long time. When you mentioned about, someone mentioned about benchmarking with the international and national association, so you're part of the international, but of course you manage a body which is locally based. What do you think the key difference that you see are limiting us, or the things that they are doing best, or they could learn from us?
Another of the difficult questions that organizers so.
Sir, I'm here only to ask difficult, so that
yes.
I'm representing all of them.
Yeah, of course. See, there's a major difference between running a corporate thing and an association. It's a completely different level of motivation. You're running an organization, whether you, as an individual or as a company. Profit, for example, is one motivation. Having a global footprint, and that could be a dream for some entrepreneurial. But with association, that same kind of motivation doesn't exist. You have to have passion behind it. Somebody really wants to take the association to the next level. And that, to me, is something which is missing, and associations will continue to struggle in that respect. But then comparing the way Indian associations are run with the international ones, international, it's a very varied scenario. For example, take example of China. And China has lots of members, and it runs because it's like, it's told to them, you have to do it, and that's it. That's why the membership drive is done. It's not a drive really. It's an order and it's followed. That's what in my kind of association it is done. In more liberal societies, it's really driven, and I again speak for the scientific association, by the academic world really. And we in our good institutions follow the same pattern, where the professors or the academic, they have incentive to do this, to sort of part of the association, to promote it in some way. In fact, you earn points if you are sort of chairing an international organization or leading an Indian. It's seen as a good reflection on your CV. And therefore, around the world, the scientific organizations are driven by academicians, really. But then, for two reasons. One, that you need to have input from the industry, as inputs, of course, to sort of reinvent yourself. Second, you have to have money from the industry. People are now thinking of involving more industry people in it. There is a shortage of time, shortage of motivation in that respect. But I think there's a transition phase going on at the moment. We will probably evolve into a product which could look neither this or not that, maybe different. Only time will tell.
Thank you. I don't want to stop any one of you here to ask question now that we have the August gathering of people. This is your time and this is the place where, some solution that we could work it out. So please feel free to raise your hand. You have a phone here, your speaker. You can ask question, any specific that you see in the subject that has been discussed. However, don't limit yourself. Even if you have some question that can steer their, kind of force them to think hard, please don't stop yourself. Anyone to ask question? Yes, gentlemen. Please identify yourself and press the button. If you could also put some light here in the audience so that we are able to see.
My name is Sampath, Chairman of the Indian Institute of Industry in Delhi. Two things mentioned repeatedly about the earnings. When you really set up an association, the structure is there. You cannot at all go for profit. So one of the things which we find is how to really earn. In that probably one of the associate members can really engage services of experts or available so that the earnings can be ensured. Second point is engage your members. Engage your own members. May find only some people work in any organization, any association also. Some people remain there for the purpose of remaining, but there are only few people who really contribute. Therefore, how to encourage them?
Sorry, anybody want to answer here? Yeah, please.
If I understood correctly, Mr. Sampath, you made two very valid points. One is that there are few members who are really driven and they take it forward. Most of the members are there just for the sake of it. A second thing, you said that many of the members have this in, and their services could be engaged to earn some. Is that right? Exactly. I fully agree with you. Many associations have members who have been members and active members for a long time, and they are members for a long time, and they are the ones who drive it because they have this passion. And because they have the passion, it is a given that they are very knowledgeable about the field to which the organization belongs. And therefore, you're right. Though in every association there are people who are experts whose services should be engaged. We follow that. We follow that. We have these world lecture tours, and many countries take our help and pay for the services. And these experts go around and give lectures or training sessions and whatever things of that. So we do like that. About the fact that most people are there just for being there, well, that's something to do with the human nature or psychology, and I don't have the capacity to change that really.
Hello? Yeah.
I can only say one thing that we, from our experiences, like it's a chicken and egg situation. Like more funds will give you more leverage to do more activities, and more activities give you leverage to do more and more, generate more funds. But the point is that what we have done in this case is that we have identified some experts and expert organizations around us, and we have designed programs around them. And we took the leverage and the risk of first generating the activity and thus generating the funds and then using the funds to do more activities. I don't know how many of them it will apply, but this is what we have done and we are benefiting from it. Yeah.
Good.
How to really change the structure of the association, because associations, the structure, basically you are all registered in the Society Registration Act. There are certain what is called requirements. Can we really think about it? I mean, we give some thought to it, whether we can really change the structure of what is called association as such.
No, I think I'll go back to your first question, or rather the second question, not the structural part as yet, but how to engage or how to get more members on board. See, first of all, as my co-panelist here rightly said, it's got to do anything you take, you would not have 100% participation. I mean, even if you were to invite people for your own functions or weddings or birthdays or, going for casting a vote, you can't have 100% participation. But the key issue here is that are you voicing the views of the 100%? Or are those 20% people who are very active, are they driving their own agenda? As long as the associations have the wisdom to distinguish between that, and you pick up issues which cut across all the lines of the membership, sooner or later, once you're able to establish your credibility, you deliver results, you ask for views, comments, opinion, get one of those non-active members to be in one of the peripheral, areas of activity, maybe not in the center stage, get to know their inhibitions, have a one-to-one discussion with them as to what is holding them back. Try and reach out to them. And we've seen that. I mean, trust me, we have 10 members. And if people think, it's very easy to get 10 people on board, it's probably the most difficult task. I envy associations like that of my co-panelist where he has 4,500 members, and he may be envying me that he has only a dozen members to cater to. So it's not an easy issue, if I may say. But yes, each one has to find their own tailor-made, customized, if I may, solutions to it. And coming to the structural part, I think it seems, the grass on the other side looks greener. If you are in a Societies Act, you would think the Companies Act registration may have, gotten more people on board. If you are in that, you may have think that, it's the trust which is probably the best mode. I think it's your results, your agenda, how you pursue that, and the success that you achieve that would matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something here is that it's true that while we do have a large membership and it is run through, there are about 14 subcommittees, whether it is for HR, insurance, banking, agriculture, many of them. Very often it depends upon the leader and his charisma and the programs that he takes as to how many people will rally behind his vision. In case of HR, Rajiv Dubey, who is a group HR head of Mahindra, is our HR head. And the kind of vision that he has got, there is a large participation in HR committee, which doesn't happen in other committees. But we run other programs also, such as for MSME particularly. In the insurance sector, we have a help desk, which is free of charge for the MSME members, and a lot of members take help of it, which is what engages them with the chamber. There are many people from the company we have solicited that people who are close to retirement on the information technology field can actually work as mentors and sort of give free advice to the MSME members. And number of MSME members are taking advantage of it, which increases the engagement. The third thing that we are doing, as in the initial stages, if you rightly said, it's like a big boys club. It is true that the managing committee is probably with all the large corporates, their MDs, chairman, or they are the members. But we are now in the process of creating a shadow council for MSME members, which will be engaged with by the president and vice president, so that there is some sort of a say or voice for the MSME members in the operation of the chamber. And finally, as I think most of my colleagues may agree, it is the chamber secretariat which has to play a very important role in driving the agenda. The earlier question he had asked is that one of the things that we did was to have this strategy meet and a document which will actually say that what is the vision for the next 3 years, so that after every year when the president changes, the priorities are not changed, they remain constant.
Yeah, I would like to add saying that, if you say that you have 10 active people with you, that should be used as a multiplying factor. You identify issues, prioritize them, each one you entrust with one area, and that person rope in another 10 people. So effectively you bring in 100 people to work for the team. So in that context, you see, the identifying the issues and then prioritizing them, that is an important element, and that will be current, and then keep them motivated to come and contribute in those areas. Again, the long-term vision we cannot forget. Each organization should have at least a 5-year goal as to what you want to achieve in this 5 year. And perhaps each year's activity has to be a subset of that.
We don't mind taking one more question as we're running out of time. Yes, sir. Please identify yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Major Chandrasekhar representing IEEE India Council. During the course of your panel discussion, it was said government has to come to you. That's the word used. Yes, sir. That's why I'm addressing the question to you, sir. Has the government ever tried to come to the associations in a real sense? That's a doubt which I have. Except, of course, let's not compare the ISRO. ISRO is a different body. What is that the government has really given the recognition to the association to come to them and ask for their opinion and formulate some policy? The second question is also, because I will not have time to again, otherwise you will say time is up. Rajiv, Budhraja sir, you talked about value chain from the rubber manufacturer onwards. Is it happening? If not, why not? Thank you.
Why I mentioned this point about the government coming to you is, basically, the associations, they have got certain competence, either in manufacturing or servicing or sales or whatever it is. That has to reach a level of excellence, and when government want to formulate their policies and take decisions, they should take the association seriously and come to you. That will come only if you have strength. If you become professional, and let me take one simple example. I've been talking with Mr. Menon during the lunchtime. He said about the electronic industry, how it is suffering and so on. Simply because the industry does not have a strength in the country today. So everything has to be driven from the top. Suppose there are a few professionals who can sit together and create a roadmap for what needs to be done for electronic industry, and that roadmap in entirety to be sold to the government. You go with such a plan, not saying that I want a clearance for this land or this building, this electricity and so on. So that type of competence has to be created in the professional bodies. The field in which they are specializing, they should be the masters in the country, not some of the general administrators.
Yeah, with regard to your query as to whether that stakeholder engagement or that engagement with the value chain is happening or not, let me give you two specific examples. In our engagement with the rubber growers, we realized that one of the reasons that the quality of rubber that is being supplied to industry is not up to the international standards is because of the nature of the crop. It's a small grower crop, as you know, rubber. Each farmer produces just about a few kilograms of rubber sheets and then brings it to the sub-dealer. The dealer brings it to the dealer, and that's how it moves. And that's where, once having identified, the industry moved in and set up some model processing units, where they were to be, replicated all over the state. We engaged with the Rubber Board of India, and that model has taken off now, where industry has adopted one or two of these processing centers, and that's going to bring about a very significant change over the years. That's one example. The other is on the plantation, the extent of the plantation. For instance, over the years, while rubber board record shows that, X area is under acreage, but because of various activities, tourism, infrastructure, real estate development in Kerala, a very significant part of the land has gone out of rubber cultivation. And again, as an industry initiative, we engaged with the Rubber Research Institute of India. And I must tell you that we are soon going to kick off a project of a satellite survey, of the rubber plantation area in Kerala to begin with. So these are the kind of specific projects, which can be initiated both with the industry and the associations acting as a catalyst, and then also reaching out to your stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I take a minute?
Just to supplement Dr. Nair's thing, I'm Dr. Gupta, from earlier Senior Director from Ministry of Information Technology and presently IEEE Chairman. The point is that we should have a strength. We were in the government and we used to take the input from all the concerned people who were expertise in their field. And because of that particular thing, I think the electronic industry which Dr. Nair is making is the first industry which we have made license free. We have given the permission to each and every industry in this country that please do whatever you like, and wherever the government can help, will help. And that's why the software engineering which you have seen, the Dent Park which you have made, it is only because the scientists who were working in that ministry, first of all, that ministry was only containing the scientific peoples. There were very few administrative people who were looking after anything from the top to bottom. And therefore, we have given so much freedom to the industry that whatever they wanted, we were able to give it to them. And I think the strength should be yours, the associations. The government is working on your inputs. Government is not working by their own. There are only very few, one or two kind of a example where you will find that the government will put a dictatorship kind of a role. But otherwise, I think the government is working for the industry, and that's why this country has made so many progress in scientific things, particularly I can say. You take the atomic energy, you take the space, you take the, electronic industry, software industry. So
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Thank you. Point well taken. So in nutshell, as we can see that we need to create, Dr. Nair said, that we need to create center of excellence at the association level so that that community creates that pull for the government to come to them and take the benefits.
Sushant, can I take a minute?
Identify,
I'll
please.
just take a minute. I'm the Secretary General of All India Food Processor Association. The question of government came, so I thought let me just intervene in that. We are a typical, industry association dealing with food processing in the country. It's the largest industry in this country. Interestingly, government is interested to take support of the association. But if I talk about agriculture and food processing, and I think about the bigger, industry associations like FICCI, CII, ASSOCHAM, and PhD Chamber of Commerce, what is happening that in my segment, I'm talking about my segment, the real knowledge lacks somewhere. Just sitting in Delhi or sitting in Mumbai or sitting in Chennai, I am going to give inputs in agriculture. I may not be in a position to give the right input. And most of the time what is happening, day by day, sorry, I beg your pardon, the industry associations are becoming irrelevant. Why I'm saying irrelevant? If I go back to the history of industry association and Chamber of Commerce are formed to create an interface between government and industry, and they used to work for the policy intervention and lobbying and all this thing. Day by day what is happening, that policy interventions, policy and other things are becoming very much politically motivated. That's going by the political agenda of the policymakers. So industry association, even the members are reluctant to become a part of the industry association. They don't like to participate. Coming back to my segment, government tried, they invite, even every time before budget, government invite the association to give inputs. And what inputs we get is more like a cut paste only. Not much value addition is there. So if we say, like Madhavan sir rightly told that government should come to the association, and government is ready to come, and government is going to the association also. But it all depends what value addition you make. If you can make value addition, the government is ready to come down to the association. That's it.
So I think you are commenting on what the panelist already reinforced. If you, in terms of whether it is relevant, whether it is politically motivated things, I think, Gadre, if you would like to share something, is that what you agree?
I do agree with him. In fact, I wanted to share that in the case of Bombay Chamber, which has got very large number of professionals, many senior IS officers from industry and commerce and finance department, they come and have in-camera meetings with the managing committee members to take their inputs for policy formulation. Some of them fly down from Delhi, many of them from Bombay, and these meetings happen after 6 o'clock in closed doors, and the inputs are taken. Because the managing committee members or the senior people are in a position to give inputs which are useful for policy formulation. So government does take inputs, and it happens. So it depends upon how you want to take it. And I just want to make one last comment. I think we are running out of time, this last one sentence. It appears that Bombay Chamber, we are doing some really good work, I mean, in terms of reaching out to MSME members, getting outside of only the industry line, and also some of the good things as far as the internal processes are concerned. We have actually got a process manual internally for us, and etc. I'll be very happy to share our experiences and the way our journey with any one of you whosoever wants it, either now, later on, during the next 1 year, anytime where you want. We'll be very happy to share that experience.
Thank you, Gadre sir. With this, we conclude this session. May I ask Dr. Nair to give us some views?
Yeah, it's been a wonderful session. We shared ideas in different areas. One thing what emerged out is the strength of each association is what is important. That strength has to come out of some competence which they generate internally through the members and so on. But I also would like to add that you can become the nucleus for triggering research and development in many areas. There are national laboratories, there are private laboratories, and I always used to keep saying that the technology what is developed for a Western country is not something which is adaptable to the Indian context. So this is where, you are interfacing with the user, you are interfacing with the industry, you are interfacing with the government. You can identify the gap areas and give a thrust to the various research activities which has take place, and that way you can establish your position very safely in this regime. I totally agree that this entire activity has to be beyond politics. Politics is only for election. We should not allow that to penetrate any of the associations. Again, we should be bold enough to say what we want. We should not shy away from whether how somebody else will take it or whether they will penalize and so on. Your openness in dealing with the situation and carving out a niche area where you can establish your authority and your expertise is very, very important. And perhaps there will be common issues. So every year we are going to meet. We will share such common issues here. And then perhaps some of the problems we will solve at the IAC level itself. So that, individual association need not be too much worrying about it. Again, I think we didn't spend much time discussing about the practical issues. So perhaps I think we should have an opportunity to exchange through mail or whatever it is, the nagging issues before us, so that in a year we can have a specific agenda to rectify them. Thank you. And I thank all the panelists for the very active and very intelligent contribution to the discussions. Thank you.